Oh, g'day. Keithy here. Thanks for joining me. You scared me. You always sneak up on me like that. Today's video, guys, I'm really glad to show this one to you. This is something that I should have done a long time ago, but you know, these things happen. We're going to go up the top of the car and we're going to make a few changes here. You'll notice that the roof rack is not on the car like it normally is, and that is for a good reason. So I'll take you up there and we'll show you in a sec exactly what we got going. We've got to do a little bit of work to the roof rack, but we're going to make a few changes at the same time. So grab a coffee, grab a beer, grab water, grab your dog, grab your wife, grab your grandkid, auntie, uncle, grab the whole family, come and grab a beer, sit down and enjoy the video. Well, we couldn't go without checking this out.
Preparing it fires now. Great Keithy here. Great Keithy here. Great Keithy here.
So let's go and have a bit of a look up the top here. While there's nothing up here, not too many people have had a bit of a look at this on the top of my Range Rover. So there's not too much special going on. It is a standard Range Rover. As you can see, I've left the roof wrap clamps on because it's going to go back up very shortly. Nonetheless, that's an empty roof right now, and I haven't actually driven this car ever with the roof in this condition, nor have I opened the sunroof without something on the top of it. So yay, I can have a sunroof. Not that really needed at the moment because it's very hot, but anyway, this is what it looks like when there is no roof rack up there. Okay, so here it is. This is my entire roof rack setup off the roof of the car. I had to get the help of my family to bring this up here. It's not because of the weight, it's not heavy. All up, this probably only weighs less than 10 kilos, the whole lot. Everything you see here that lives permanently on the roof of my Range Rover. Purely because of what I've got going on at the moment. I'm lacking in strength, so I can't lift things. And I'm also very fragile when it comes to doing all that kind of stuff with the cancer treatment I've got going on. Nonetheless, it's all off the roof of my Range Rover now, so I'll talk you through what we've got and I'll explain to you a little bit more about what we're going to do. So first thing you can see here, this is the 100 watt solar panel that has been on my car for since that video way back when. So I would say it'd have to be 6 years. About 6 years I've had this solar panel up here, and it has been good. It's a little bit dusty and dirty at the moment. I haven't cleaned any of this stuff, so it's got a bit of dust on it still from obviously the last time I was out and about, I guess, which was on the beach, funny enough. Yeah, but it needs a clean. Nonetheless, there is a problem with this solar panel. I think it's just time is up. It's no longer doing what it needs to do, so it's time to be replaced. Now, what I find really interesting is that for its size, it's actually quite a small solar panel, given what it's got going on down here, and I'll explain that to you in just a second in a little more detail. But the other thing to do with, so this goes back into the car to the auxiliary, to the charger actually, to the projector. I'll explain the full system while you can see it, while you can have a good look at it. I've shown little bits of it before, but this is the whole thing. So you can see it's mounted here quite simply, very simple little mount, 2 bolts either side, and then another 2 bolts on the actual panel itself. And that has been fantastic. That's been everywhere. I haven't had problems. It doesn't rattle, it doesn't make noise. It holds it there nice and firm. You can see I've got these eye bolts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 that hold my Oz tent down, and also if I've got anything else that I need to put up on the roof, those eye bolts hold that down quite nicely. These Rhino bars, they come standard on P38 Range Rovers in Australia, or I'm not sure overseas if they were an option or if they came with them. I think it was an Australian dealer that set this up so that the Australian ones all got these bars, and I think they're very handy. These have been on for the entire life of my Range Rover. This middle one here I bought, so I had a third one, obviously for the purpose of putting the roof rack on there. So this is the entire system in its bare bones. You can have a look through as I just installed it way back when in that video there. But now we're going to make some changes. I'll talk you through what we're going to do. So as they say, out with the old, in with the new. What I have here is a brand new solar panel. But you'll see here that it's actually a different shape to what this solar panel is here. To cut a long story short, I actually ordered a brand new solar panel, which this one was supposed to be. Turns out that they don't know their dimensions. When they put their ads up, it was the same dimensions as the old solar panel I got here. And what arrived was this one here. The biggest problem of that is that this new panel, as you can see even with me just holding it above the old one, it intrudes quite a lot into the area where my Oz tent would usually live. And that would be okay if I didn't plan on taking the Oz tent camping in the future. But the last thing that I want to do is damage this solar panel when I put the panel on there, and then I want to have the Oz tent on here. So I had to try and figure out a way in order to make this solar panel work. So I contacted the seller on eBay, which is where I got this solar panel from. And he was willing to come to the party to a degree, in that there were no solar panels of this size, which was advertised on the ad that I had ordered the solar panel off. Unfortunately, there were none of these size left, so it was that, and literally like the rest of eBay, there were none that were this size. They were all this size, so I had to just sort of lump it and go with it. What can I do with this? Well, the only way that I can really mount it that it's not going to hurt the Oz tent is if I mount it crossways. So being the bottom here and top here is like this. But the problem that I've found so far, and it's not a massive problem, is that my little tie down points are going to need to be adjusted in order to fit it, which is okay. I can make that happen, and it does fit when I turn these tie down points into the other direction. But then that leaves this back section here vacant, and I don't mind vacant space, but what happens when I put the Oz tent on top of this solar panel is the back part of the tent's not going to be supported by the roof rack. The solar panel is going to be holding all the weight of the tent. Now the tent doesn't weigh very much, and it's a soft tent, it's not a hard tent, so that shouldn't hurt the solar panel too much, but I don't want to damage or bend the tent. So I thought maybe I could put a second solar panel, same size as this one, in here, because it will fit, and that would make the entire system work. Then I can have two solar panels, and when I put the Oz tent down, it's not actually going to have the weight just on this one solar panel. Both solar panels will be taking the weight. So I think that's a great idea, and that's what we're here to do today. And I can also use that to my advantage, given there's a gap in between the tie down points. So I might be able to move the tie down points for my Oz tent to be a little bit closer, so there's a little bit less room in between the tie down points. Or what I'll do is I'll actually leave these outside ones where they are and just put some new ones in here, given that there is room to do that, just with the size of these solar panels here. So that is today's mission. We're going to have a go and see if we can fit them, and then I've got to wire them in so that they charge through the projector. So let's get into it. Okay, so what you see there, that's two solar panels that are going to go on in place. They're not bolted down as yet, and the reason for that is that I need to go and get myself another eye bolt, or three, to go across here so that I can secure the Oz tent down when we go camping, and obviously a couple of secure bolts as well. So the brackets that are going to go on the sides of each of these panels need to be bolted, obviously here and there, so I can do that. Luckily I can use eye bolts here for these three so that the tent can secure down to the eye bolts, but further down about here I can just use nuts and bolts, go the old school way, a couple of washers, and we are good to go. But all in all, it's looking pretty good. It's a good fit in here, believe it or not, despite the fact that, again, these were the wrong solar panels that were ordered, or they weren't the wrong ones ordered, sorry, they were the wrong ones supplied. The only things that I need to do with the mounting system here is, you can see I can fit my finger under here, because these eye bolts, the base of them is just the tiniest little tiny fraction too big for it. So I'm going to need to just grind the sides, insides that is, off these eye bolts, just to allow the solar panels to secure properly to the roof rack. You can see this one up the back is actually a really good fit. So I'm not too concerned with this one, but the one at the front is going to need just a little bit more security. So I'll do that. I'll make sure that the eye bolts fit nicely in here. So there's already a hole drilled here from where the previous solar panel was secured to the roof rack. So that one's already good to go. I just need to make another one here and up the back to hold the tent down. And then that's sorted. And like I said, just one more secure little mount so that the solar panels are secured down to the roof rack, and then that is the easy part done. Then from there I have to get these wires from the solar panels down into the car, and where the previous connection was for that solar panel, I need to just essentially put a Anderson plug on the end of it so that it plugs in, and these will then operate directly to the projector in order to charge the auxiliary battery. So first, cab off the rank, I will make sure that these are secured and bolted down properly. And then if I really want to, I could put them back on the car to work on the second part. Let's get into it. Okay, here we are. Unfortunately, the weather sort of came over. Believe it or not, in between doing all of this and going to get the bits and pieces from Bunnings, you'll notice also that I have got the awning attached to the roof rack, and that is just purely for sizing. So when I was setting up the sizing with these solar panels, I made sure that they didn't interrupt with this, and also that they were where I wanted them to be. So this is what we've got now. The panels are level with the edge of the roof rack, as you see there, and the eye bolts. So I've shortened them. I'll show you this one here, it's probably the easiest. So you can see I've made a cut through there on both sides. Just a little bit of extra room to move the panels around as I adjust them. And it means that things aren't so tight, so I do have a little bit of a tolerance there if things aren't quite perfect. So that's the first thing I did. I also purchased the extra 3 eye bolts that are going to go in between. So you can see there's one bracket there, 2 there, and the third one up the front. And I've also bolted up the hold down brackets, so they're not actually secured to the rack yet, because I've got to pull it off and clean it. I've got some swarf and whatnot from drilling and whatnot that I need to get rid of. So I can clean all of this up now. And what I need to do is I actually got to take the whole setup, including the rack, off to slide these under into position, and then I can screw these down, and then I can bolt that down, and then we move on to the next part, which is all of the electrical stuff. So I'll have a go at doing all of that now. After I've got these solar panels installed, I'm probably actually going to take that awning off, because the positioning of the panels is perfect now. So the awning is not required, and it's a bit heavy for me to lift it onto the car with the awning attached to it. So I'll separate that. But let's get in, knock this up, get them bolted down secure, and then we'll work on the electrics. Okay, so awning is off. This is the finished product on the roof. I've got to put it on the roof, obviously. With the eye bolt set up so that the Oz tent can go along there quite nicely. She's all bolted down. All of these panels are bolted down. I've kept the eye bolts over the other side there, so that if I wanted to put something bigger on the roof, I can do that. Bolted down in the middle, both are bolted together. That ain't going anywhere, that's bolted down nicely. Same at the back, obviously we've got the eye bolts. So that's good, there's a good fit for the Oz tent. Then we move under here and you can see that is the Anderson plug. So basically I've made panel A, come to panel B, down here. So that's a nice little fit there, and that obviously will attach to the wire that comes from the Range Rover. So what I've got to do now, increase the size of the wiring coming from the Range Rover, and we're all good. I will show you that once I've completed that job, and then we'll install this again and see how it performs. Alrighty, so here we are. We're 3.5 weeks from when I actually recorded that other stuff. Now I was hoping to have this video out before the last sets of videos that you've seen, even before the one where I did the fuel consumption testing, because that's when I actually began putting those solar panels up on the roof of this car. They've been up here for that time, but unfortunately they haven't been doing anything because of this. So the dual battery charger actually was not working at the time. Now obviously, because it's been a very long time since I've done any camping or four-wheel driving where I had to put a bit of demand onto the battery itself, I didn't actually know that the battery charger was dudded. It wasn't working at all. So therein lied another job, and as you can see, the back is still open here. I haven't actually closed it because I didn't expect the warranty job to take 3.5 weeks. So if you ever get a projector, it was Tent World that I bought this from, and I mean that doesn't reflect on the product. The product has actually come from down in Melbourne. I can't remember the name of the company that manufactures all of this projector stuff. But I tell you what, literally 2 days ago, I was notified that the warranty had been approved and that they were sending up a new one. So between then and now, 3 weeks they spent mucking around to assess something that was a warranty job, and I've been without a dual battery system for that amount of time. It was pretty depressing that I couldn't complete this job, and I had to leave the back of the car looking as it is now until now. So I'm going to save you the unboxing, and I'm going to save you the soldering and all that stuff that I've got to do in here now. I know it looks really bad, it's just because I've left it out there for a number of weeks. It's really disgusting to look at from here because everything is disconnected. So I'm going to get all this wired in now, and then we can go straight to testing out these solar panels because I've been waiting for so long to do that. It's been 3.5 weeks. Christmas is here. Come on. So we'll get that happening, and we'll get some measurements here. So I've got my little kick-ass meter here, covered in dog hair, and we can do the testing there to see what kind of output we get from those lovely solar panels up there, and if it actually feeds back to the alternator if we need to. So let's get into that now. I'll save you all of this magic. We'll get straight to the end. Okay, so before I even get into the job, this is everything that I have to do today prior to just literally hooking it up and seeing how those solar panels go. As you can see, well, you probably can't see, sun's going down, so I need to get this done. I'm going to get it done quick. The good thing was taking the old system off, it was chop, 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 chop. Now I can just put these Anderson plugs onto these two because I'm going to run a positive feed through both of these. I'm going to mark it on here, obviously, just so that I know that both of these ones come from the fusing in the back. And this one here is positive and negative feed. That's all 4 wires that need to be on an Anderson plug. The rest of them don't need to be connected at all. And this one here just sits around there to get the temperature inside the dual battery system area. So that's nice and easy. Once I've got those 4 soldered on, so as you can see, I've got this stuff here, soldering iron out here, and a bit of solder, ready to go. Pretty simple stuff. Not going to bore you with it. I'll get it all hooked up and then I'll show you the end product. Okay, here we go. As you can hear, we're idling. Everything's plugged back in at the back here. I've got the kick-ass meter up here just monitoring things at the moment. So you can see 14.3 volts coming from the main battery, giving this thing a little bit of juice to charge up the auxiliary battery. We're sitting at 14.1 volts, so you can see it's got a little bit of a solar reading as well as the alternator reading at the moment. And obviously, being so late in the day, there's not much solar going on at the moment, so the alternator is doing most of the work, but effectively, I might add. So I'll go through it tomorrow. I'm not going to close this up because I've got the little kick-ass meter in there as well. So I'll leave that in there for now, and I'll show you a little bit more tomorrow. This is the kick-ass meter, so basically high precision watt meter and power analyzer. That's what that thing is, and I think it's perfect for something like this, especially if you want to monitor what's going in and out of a battery. But the main thing it's telling me here is that the alternator is doing a good job at charging this auxiliary battery. So now that that job's done, I can sit down with a cup of coffee, and I'll get back to you in the morning once we've got a little bit of sunlight and I can actually show you something from that. And here we are, ladies and gents. So we're at about 11 a.m, getting close to lunchtime. As you can see there, it's a little difficult to see with the sunlight on there. It's only asking for about, where's my hand disappeared? There. About 2 amps there at the moment. So that's actually the charger up here. Only wanting that kind of amperage at the moment to keep that battery in a happy spot, and that is slowly coming down. If you watch that, you could sit here and watch it all day. That'll go down from 2.03 to 2.02, blah blah blah, all the way until it gets to 0, and then it'll just hold a float charge. So there we have the final product. Please don't mind the mess. I've got everything out at the moment, and that open purely so that I can chuck the little watt meter on there and just see how everything is going. All right, I am so happy with this. Here is the complete outcome. Obviously the fridge is not in the car at the moment. So what we've got the 2 solar panels up there. I've put the awning back up there as well, which is very good. That's how it's going to be. I can put weight on those solar panels. I actually contacted the manufacturer to make sure that I could put my Oz tent up there when I went camping, which is fantastic because, let's face it, I wouldn't have done this if I couldn't do that. The Oz tent's quite soft, so it's not going to hurt anything. If you have a look around here, we've got the Foxwing back up as well. So that whole system is working beautifully and doesn't clash with any of the other stuff that's up there, which is great. We've run our wires down through here, and luckily I didn't have to do any cuts. You can't even see the wiring, goes into the system in there. And we've got the new charger there, as you can see, which is fantastic. I'm glad I've got that, and thank you to Tent World for following through with the warranty stuff on that. So this really doesn't look any different, although it's just a brand new charger. We've got the solar going in, we've got the alternator going in, and the old projector is taking care of what's doing what. Obviously the alternator's not running at the moment because the car's not running, so he's not doing a great deal. And then if you look right down low here, you can see the voltage of the auxiliary battery. So it's in float mode at the moment. It's charged it all the way back up. In the time it took me to clean all the crap out of the back of this car, it actually charged it all the way back up. So that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is a wrap. All right, it's super duper hot, and I hope everyone here had an absolutely fantastic Christmas, and hopefully you get this before New Year's. But I'd like to wish you all the best. Thanks for supporting me throughout the last few years, especially through the last 12 months where I've had a fair bit going on. I really appreciate all your support there, guys. Don't forget the usual way, down the bottom there you can subscribe and thumbs up and thumbs down and all that other stuff that you've got to do. I'm going to have a coffee now and see you in the next video. Take care.